This evening, first, Adriana Young case. 2 officers fired, top cop on leave. The fallouts continue over the death of 11-year-old Adriana Young. 2 police officers have been dismissed for negligence, and a former divisional commander remains on leave as investigators uncover troubling missteps and conflicting evidence. With DNA samples now headed to New York, Guyana waits for answers and justice. Plus, ICJ rules against Venezuela, no elections in Essequibo. In The Hague, the International Court of Justice delivers a landmark order. Venezuela must immediately halt all plans for elections in Guyana's disputed Essequibo region. The ruling reaffirms Guyana's sovereignty and sends a message heard around the world. Also, curfew lifted, but the tension remains. Just days after violent protests and a nationwide lockdown, the government lifts the curfew, citing calm but not closure. Businesses begin reopening, yet grief, anger, and unanswered questions still linger in the air. Meanwhile, presidential action on the Demerara River. President Ali orders emergency dredging of the Breeden Hoop and Stabroek channels after speedboat operators raise red flags. Dredging begins immediately as the government rolls out upgrades to protect the thousands of passengers who depend on the river route. And on the global front, U.S. economy shrinks, Trump blames Biden. Across the Atlantic, fears of recession mount as the U.S. economy contracts. President Donald Trump shifts blame to Joe Biden, doubling down on tariffs as a cure-all. But critics says the numbers tell a different story. Stay tuned, these stories and more tonight on Headline News Update. Welcome to this broadcast of Channel 2's Headline News Update for May 2nd, 2025. I am Bibi Bacchus. Thank you for joining us. First up, 2 police ranks, a corporal and a constable, have been dismissed amid ongoing investigations into the tragic death of 11-year-old Adriana Young, whose body was discovered in a swimming pool at the Doubleday Hotel in Tushin, East Bank, Essequibo on April 24th. The Guyana Police Force confirmed on Thursday that the 2 officers were removed due to negligence. Additionally, former Regional Division No. 3 Commander, Assistant Commissioner Khalid Mandal, remains on administrative leave as the probe continues. Young had gone missing during a family outing on April 23rd, and despite early searches at the hotel, police initially claimed that she had been abducted. Her mother and aunt said their pleas for a proper search were ignored, with officers insisting there was video evidence of the child leaving, footage they never showed. The hotel owner, initially detained, has since been released, but must report to the police daily and is barred from leaving the country. DNA samples from him and Adriana Young have been sent to New York's Mount Sinai Health System for advanced forensic testing. The investigation has exposed several lapses, including a civilian staffer inputting the wrong date while reviewing footage and a special constabulary sergeant relying on an unverified tip from an unknown associate. Authorities says the investigation remains active and are continuing efforts to determine the circumstances surrounding the child's death. In a decisive move to uphold international law and protect Guyana's territorial integrity, the International Court of Justice, ICJ, on May 1, 2025, ordered Venezuela to immediately halt all plans to hold elections in the disputed Essequibo region, sending a clear message that unilateral actions will not be tolerated while the border controversy remains before the world's highest court. The ruling, issued on May 1st of 2025, came in response to Guyana's request for additional provisional measures after Venezuela announced plans to elect a governor and legislative council for the so-called Guyana Essequibo state, a name it uses for Guyana's Essequibo territory. By a 12-3 majority, the ICJ directed Venezuela to refrain from conducting or preparing for elections in the disputed area. This reaffirmed an earlier order from December of 2023, which instructed both countries to avoid any actions that could alter the current situation or escalate tensions. The government of Guyana welcomed the court's decision and reiterated its unwavering commitment to the principles of international law, the peaceful resolution of disputes, and the ICJ process for a final, peaceful, and lawful resolution of the controversy concerning the validity of the 1899 arbitral award that determined the land boundary between Guyana and Venezuela. On a different note, the Ethnic Relations Commission has issued a strong statement condemning the recent desecration of the Tushan Phase 2 mandir and the spread of misinformation linking Hinduism to the tragic death of 11-year-old Adriana Young. The Commission denounced the May 1, 2025 act of vandalism as a violation of religious freedom and urged the Guyana Police Force to investigate and bring those responsible to justice swiftly. The ERC also criticized unfounded narratives associating Hindu beliefs with human sacrifices, emphasizing that such claims misrepresent the teachings of Hinduism and pose a threat to Guyana's multicultural harmony. The Commission also called for responsible public disclosure and reaffirmed the nation's secular values and respect for all faiths. In a separate statement, the ERC raised concerns about a controversial music video titled Chinese Don't Know Who's We by Vision Clark featuring Richard, which has resurfaced online amid recent targeting of Chinese-owned businesses. While acknowledging the artist's claim that the video predates recent events, the ERC urged its immediate withdrawal due to its potential to incite division and place Chinese and Guyanese citizens at risk. The ERC reiterated its commitment to promoting ethnic and religious unity. It called on artists, influencers, and the wider public to engage in sensitive and responsible expression, especially during national tension. Stick around when we return. Nearly 18 kilograms of foreign cannabis seized at CJIA, 2 arrested. And President orders immediate dredging of Reading Hook Channel amid rising transportation concerns.
Mother's Day, Digicel is turning up the love and cooling things down.
Imagine surprising mom with a brand new fully stocked fridge.
Digicel is making it a reality.
You can win one of 4 fully stocked fridges
worth over $500,000.
Just top up with $1,000 or more for a chance to win weekly. It's that easy.
Top up today. The more you top up, the more chances you have to win.
Happy Mother's Day from Digicel. Better connected.
GCOM is currently conducting a national registration exercise. Who can register? Anyone who will be 14 years or older by June 30, 2025 and is a Guyanese citizen by birth, descent, naturalization, or is a citizen from a Commonwealth country living in Guyana for 1 year or more. It is the civic duty and legal responsibility of all Guyanese who meet the eligibility criteria to apply for registration. By doing so, you would be ensuring that you are issued a national identification card and be included in the official list of electors for future elections, providing you meet all eligibility criteria. This registration exercise will end on May 30, 2025. You need to apply for a transfer if you now live at another address since you were registered. For more information, contact the GCOM on 2250-277-9 or visit www.gcom.org.gy.
Sneakily with a gift of sight from Modern Optical Services. Let our professional team examine and prescribe what's best for your eyes. Common smiles make fashionable faces. See us for a full line of optical services, including brand name and prescription eyewear. Modern Optical Services, 316 Middle Street, Georgetown. Telephone 226-1082.
Good girl forget things.
What's the problem, Granny? I want money for those surgery. I was dancing and I fall and fractured my hip.
If you need some quick money,
you should check Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop, Lot 238 South Road, Border, Georgetown. Get jewelry made to order in just 72 hours. We also accept vehicles. Lender's, best rates, longest payback period.
Boys, I get through. Plus, I could dance again.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Welcome back. The government has officially lifted the nationwide curfew just 3 days after its implementation, citing a return to normalcy following recent unrest triggered by the autopsy results of 11-year-old Adriana Young. The curfew, which restricted public gatherings between 12:30 a.m. and 5 a.m., was introduced under the Public Safety Order 2025 in response to widespread protests, looting, and arson earlier in the week. On Monday evening, the country erupted in chaos after pathologists confirmed that the young girl, whose mysterious death captured national attention, died by drowning. The announcement triggered fiery protests, road blockade, looting, and arson in several parts of the country, with rogue elements targeting Chinese-owned supermarkets and other businesses. The Ministry of Home Affairs made the announcement of the revocation of the curfew on Thursday. While the ministry expressed optimism over the improving situation, it urged citizens to remain vigilant and continue reporting suspicious activities to the police. The government has assured the public that efforts to maintain peace and investigate the circumstances surrounding Young's death remains ongoing. In other news, President Dr. Mohamed Irfaan Ali has ordered immediate dredging of the Freedom Hoop and Stabroek channels to address urgent concerns raised by speedboat operators over hazardous low tide conditions and sediment buildup in the Demerara River. The decision follows a meeting with operators on Wednesday and it comes as part of a broader initiative to enhance safety, efficiency, and infrastructure along the vital river route. Dredging and removing obstructive debris began Thursday, just hours after the president's directives. Additional upgrades announced include the installation of surveillance cameras and lighting, the construction of new walkways extending to the Georgetown landing to ease congestion, and the deployment of marine officers during peak hours. With nearly 9 million passengers using the water taxi service between regions 3 and 4 in 2024, President Ali said the improvements are long overdue and essential for maintaining a reliable transport link between Freedom Hoop and Georgetown. Moving on, in a joint operation on Wednesday, the Guyana Revenue Authority and the Customs Anti-Narcotics Unit seized nearly 18 kilograms of foreign cannabis during a search at the Chedijagan International Airport. Acting on intelligence, officials searched 3 barrels at the Leparcon cargo shed, uncovering 17.9 kilograms of cannabis. Mahaya Andrews of Nonpareil and Lemmy Campbell of Enterprise, both on the east coast of Demerara, were arrested and taken to Canoe headquarters. A follow-up raid at a northeast Le Penitent's residence led to the discovery of drug packaging materials, including foreign Ziploc bags and rolling bags. Canoe has since issued a warning to parents, guardians, and teachers to be alert to the use of small, colorful packaging bags and jars, often used to package cannabis, especially those targeting younger users. Campbell is no stranger to the law. 16 years ago, he was convicted in Barbados for drug trafficking. In 2009, Campbell, his wife, and 2 others were sentenced to 20 years in prison for possession and trafficking of marijuana and cocaine stemming from a 2005 case. However, the Barbados Court of Appeal later ordered the release of Campbell and his wife based on time already served. Campbell and Andrews remain in custody and are awaiting charges as investigations continue. Don't go away after the break. U.S.-Ukraine minerals deal. Ukrainians query agreement with Washington, and U.S. urges India and Pakistan to de-escalate Kashmir tension after Delhi attack.
This Mother's Day, Digicel is stirring up the love and cooling things down.
Imagine surprising mom with a brand new fully stocked fridge.
Digicel is making it a reality.
You can win one of 4 fully stocked fridges
Worth over $500,000.
Just top up with $1,000 or more for a chance to win weekly. It's that easy.
Top up today. The more you top up, the more chances you have to win.
Happy Mother's Day from Digicel. Better connected.
Sneakily with a gift of sight sight from Modern Optical Services. Let our professional team examine and prescribe what's best for your eyes. Common smiles make fashionable faces. See us for a full line of optical services, including brand name and prescription eyewear. Modern Optical Services, 316 Mill Street, Georgetown. Telephone 226-1082.
Good girl forget things.
What's the problem, Granny?
I want money for borrow for do a surgery. I was dancing and I fall and fracture my hip.
If you need some quick money, you should check Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop, lot 238 South Road Border, Georgetown. Get jewelry made to order in just 72 hours. We also accept vehicles. Lender's, best rates, longest payback period.
Boys, I get through. Plus, I could dance again.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn.
GCOM is currently conducting a national registration exercise. Who can register? Anyone who will be 14 years or older by June 30, 2025 and is a Guyanese citizen by birth, descent, naturalization, or is a citizen from a Commonwealth country living in Guyana for 1 year or more. How to apply for registration? You must visit the GCOM registration office that is responsible for your area of residence to apply for registration or name change or correction. You must be in possession of the following source documents as might be relevant: original birth certificate or valid Guyana passport for new registration, original marriage certificate and original birth certificate in the case of a name change by marriage, original deed poll and original birth certificate in the case of a name change by deed poll, original naturalization certificate and original birth certificate or valid passport in the case of naturalization. This registration exercise will end on May 30, 2025. You need to apply for a transfer if you now live at another address since you were registered. For more information, contact the GCOM on 225-027729 or visit www.gcom.org.gy.
Welcome back. Now we take a look at what's happening in the region and around the world. In South America, Venezuela is demanding the return of a 2-year-old after U.S. officials deported her parents and placed the child in foster care. The government claims she was forcibly separated from her mother while boarding a deportation flight. U.S. authorities deny wrongdoings, alleging her parents are tied to a gang. Venezuela says the act violates international law and vows legal and diplomatic action to secure the child's release. Back in the United States, Donald Trump is trying hard to allay fears about a recession after a new government report showed the country's economy has shrunk during the first 3 months of the year. He blamed his predecessor, Joe Biden, and insists higher tariffs will help America. Al Jazeera's Rob Reynolds reports not everyone is convinced.
On the campaign trail, it was his constant refrain.
Starting on day one, we will end inflation and make America affordable again. To bring down the prices of all goods, groceries, cars, everything. We're going to get the prices down. Prices will come down. You just watch.
100 days into his term, President Donald Trump hasn't delivered on those promises. Inflation is getting worse. And with Trump's trade war with China, Canada, Mexico, and the rest of the world, costs are about to skyrocket.
Prices are going to start to rise because of these tariffs, unless they're reversed quickly. That hasn't happened yet, and people haven't seen that yet, but it will.
Let's take groceries, a focus of Trump's campaign promises. Those prices haven't come down, quite the opposite. According to government statistics, prices at the grocery store jumped by 0.5% in March. And egg prices hit an all-time high of over $6 a dozen.
I literally paid $10 for 2 pounds of potatoes the other day. Potatoes, yeah.
Prices are going up on almost everything, and I'm getting ready to retire, and it really makes me worried.
It's incredibly expensive and hard to make it all work financially.
The International Monetary Fund now predicts growth will slow this year as the trade war intensifies.
It could slow the economy down at the same time that it actually raises inflation, which is a bad outcome. We call it stagflation, when the economy slows but inflation rises. We haven't seen that since the 1970s.
Trump has made no effort to use the limited tools at a president's disposal, such as imposing wage and price controls as President Richard Nixon did when inflation spiked in 1971 and 1973. An analysis by Yale University's Budget Lab predicts Trump's trade war will cost the average American household an extra $4,700 this year. Rob Reynolds, Al Jazeera, Los Angeles.
Internationally, tensions are rising between India and Pakistan following the killing of 26 tourists in India-administered Kashmir. India blames Pakistan for the attack, an allegation Islamabad strongly denies. In response, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has urged both nuclear-armed neighbors to de-escalate the situation and avoid further violence. Al Jazeera's Charles Stratford reports.
Indian soldiers search houses in Pulwama, Indian-administered Kashmir. Security across the region has been tightened after 26 people were shot and killed last week in the popular tourist destination. It was the worst attack on civilians in the disputed territory in 2 decades. India says it's identified 3 of the gunmen, including 2 Pakistani nationals. Islamabad has denied involvement and called for an independent investigation.
It was very important to send a strong message to terrorists, their handlers, and the supporters who provide them with logistical help. Terrorism will not stop until we send a strong message. Several measures have been taken, including the demolition of houses, which also send a strong signal to deter others from turning towards terrorism.
A little-known group called the Resistance Front claimed responsibility. Armed groups demanding Kashmir's secession from India haven't targeted tourists in recent years. As the security sweeps continue in various locations across India, students are protesting against what they say is harassment by the Indian military.
Our brothers, sisters and Kashmiri students who are pursuing their studies in various states across India are being targeted in hostels, universities and colleges. They are being abused and attacked. I want to ask, what's their fault? They've simply gone to study.
Tourism operators say visitor numbers are down 80% since the attack. Millions of people holiday in this region every year. The local economy is heavily dependent on tourism revenue.
We are aware of the security concerns. We cannot actually, compromise with that. But government has to act very, very tactfully and carefully, and they do not have to issue statements in a hurry. That is very important.
A number of the area's most popular attractions remain closed.
And I think it's not fair because the people of Kashmir will definitely face problems, economic problems, because this is their lifeline.
Fears of an escalation are growing as Pakistan says it has credible evidence India is planning to take military action. The United Nations and allies of both countries, including the US and UK, have called on the 2 nuclear powers to remain calm and avoid further tension. Charles Stratford, Al Jazeera.
Finally, the US and Ukraine have signed a long-awaited mineral deal. For President Donald Trump, that deal is about settling accounts. He says Kiev owes Washington for the weapons and aid it received to fight Russia. For Ukraine, it's a lifeline. Al Jazeera's Zain Bashrafi reports.
A flagship moment in Ukraine-U.S. relations, a new mineral deal granting Americans preferential access to Ukrainian resources, hailed by President Volodymyr Zelensky as the first concrete outcome of his Vatican meeting with Donald Trump.
Although negotiations were sometimes difficult, the result is strong.
The deal mends frayed relations, and many Ukrainians hope signals an end to the war.
Maybe this will have a good impact for Ukraine because it might push other countries to put pressure on the Russian government, and maybe the war will finally end.
But many Ukrainians remain wary of the Trump administration, if not the American people.
Whatever they're signing over there, they're doing it for their own benefit. It's a win for Trump. As a person, I don't trust him at all.
Fighting in Kherson, fires in Odessa, unexploded bombs in Kyiv. Attacks on Kharkiv, Sumy, and Cherkasy. The deal was signed as the war carried on, Russian missiles and drones still raining down on Ukrainian cities. Kyiv has long hoped economic leverage could secure greater military support, and the day the deal was signed, the White House authorized more than $50 million in direct weapon sales to Ukraine, the first such approval since Trump returned to the White House. It was only weeks ago when President Zelensky announced his intentions to spend tens of billions of dollars on U.S. air defense systems. No doubt the hope in Kyiv now is that the latest approval of arms sales is only the beginning. Also on Wednesday, Trump ally Senator Lindsey Graham said he's ready to introduce a bill imposing tariffs and secondary sanctions on Russia. Clear steps away from Moscow, closer to Kyiv. But until the bombs stop falling, the moment is bittersweet.
In order for it to stop, we have to pay something. We pay with human lives and with Ukrainian resources. It feels like Ukraine is being raped by everyone, and it hurts.
Washington, some Ukrainians say, is seeking to make a profit while they are fighting a war. Zain Basravi, Al Jazeera, Kyiv.
This brings us to the end of our regional and global news coverage. Up next is the 3-minute forecast. And that's it, TV2 Headline News for this Friday evening. As we take our leave, we invite you to follow us on Facebook and YouTube. We will be off for the weekend, but you can tune in on Tuesday at 7 p.m. for more news. Until then, please take care of yourselves and each other, and do have a wonderful weekend and arrival day.